This week on Hermitcraft.
Seriously cool. I just hit my mug across my desk. Now I've got to clean it up. Oh, great. My harmonica got wet.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is PixelRiffs. Our writer is LoyXP. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. The overworld of Hermitcraft Season 9 is fast becoming a collection of beautiful structures, picturesque custom landscapes, and captivating statues. But up until now, the backdoor access to all of it through the Nether has assumed the appearance of 2-month-old spaghetti, bits of which are still on fire. Luckily, someone is keen to step in and do the fast travel heck dimension equivalent of cable management on the place, and so we're happy to report that thanks to TangoTek's efforts, the season's Nether hub is starting to come together. Meanwhile, in the overworld, people continue to make towers out of whatever they find value in, everyone signs up to be dared to do stuff, and Doc M makes plans for what he's actually going to do with his hole in the ground. So let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Hypnotizd and that Batman stuff we didn't have time for last week. With help from his viewers, Hypno makes it over the hurdle on the one riddle he couldn't solve and successfully tracks down the lower half of his diamond ore pillar.
Oh yeah, and it actually says Hypno on this one too. I didn't see that before. You know, a way that we could get XP back for this little adventure, maybe something we could do to him, messing with his diamond pile is something that we should do, or if we should do something completely different.
This experience with random acts of shenanigans doesn't stop him from joining Hermit Dares later. Guess the taste has developed, even if the scavenger hunt was just XBcrafted being funny. Either how, Hypno expands his super smelter with an array of lava cauldrons refilled by dripstone and calls it a day.
Right, so I might have gone a little bit overboard here. You can kind of see our chest storage system.
It's nice to have a smeltery going on for CubFan135's new initiative. Having discovered several ore veins, Cub chooses to hold off on exhausting them for himself. Gold farms and iron farms are abundant, after all. Instead, in hopes that a hermit will need some raw ores someday, Cub decides to sell access to these prized locations. He even decorates them accordingly with lore and stories attached. After all, you don't get rich by digging gold in a gold rush, you get rich by selling shovels.
I wanted there to be like a little bit like a story. So as you go in here, you see like supplies for the depths. Don't let Johnny wander off. Boss says we either gotta hit pay dirt or pack it up soon. Because, yeah, could be a lot of iron down there.
Someone should have told Stress Monster, who recruits Iskal85 to help her build a nether roof gold farm, on the condition that he can siphon off half the gold to barter with piglins for gravel. The result is the trolliest collaboration we've seen between the two of them, and that's saying something.
Stress?
Yeah?
How have you done this?
What do you mean? I thought
How have you done this?
It wasn't me.
You look like a horse for me.
Oh my god, are you actually kidding me? There's no bug, just look up, you weirdo.
Once she's convinced Iskal she's not a horse and the gold farm is pleasantly productive, Stress finds someone to dare. Keralis is the next participant, and she challenges him to sell a carrot on a stick to someone for as many diamonds as possible. Her own business is a little more straightforward, trading false some prismarine goodies and even getting a limited edition false Symmetry egg out of the deal, but since she and Gemini Tay need to get their prices straight, they team up to sell prismarine out of a cozy travelling cart.
We did it. We did it.
Iskal, in the meantime, pockets his share of the gold and delays the piglin bartering farm until later. For now, he's got to see the World Eater in action and dig out a box of his own, although it's a lot smaller and he cares a lot more about the contents. Filling the area around a productive amethyst geode with water, Iskal plans to farm the shards for tinted glass crafting materials, and to highlight the budding amethyst blocks all the more, he wraps the entire thing in black concrete, so he and the crystals are just floating in the void.
I kind of like the whole super darkness. It looks like I'm in outer space.
Now, it's one thing for YouTube compression to completely give up on a big wall of black concrete, it's another entirely when you have to apply a special resource pack just to be able to see what you're doing anymore. On top of that, Tango's Cosmic Nether Hub raises a pretty interesting question. What do you do when you need this much black concrete? The answer is certainly not to keep using the bartering Ferris wheel to get gravel for it.
And hostile creatures down.
Around a mob cap of piglins worth later, the void room of the hub is complete, and the decorative nether stars start spreading from one corner of it. Tango even manages to spawn-proof it by creating a localized mob switch with converted trader villagers.
Oh, whoa. Wait a second, why is this corner magical? Also,
Sometimes the Abyss stares back, but DocM77 has plans for the Abyss he's created. First of all, he needs to see more than a few chunks of it at a time, so he's installed a client-side mod that keeps all the chunks rendered just for him, in case you're wondering why it looks so foggy for everyone else who drops by. Doc's actually going to plan the farms he has to squeeze into this vast space before he even designs the floor, just in case stuff would need to be moved later or placed automatically. In the meantime, he needs a house adjacent to this monumental sandpit, so he 3D prints himself a fortress of solitude, and then makes it feel more modern and eco-friendly. There's a tomato garden and everything.
And it's a bit chaotic, and that's what I wanted with it. The in-between areas between the crazy order are chaotic. We have a few solar panels again, you know, here and there, bees buzzing, kind of, you know, thinking about it from a lore perspective.
Doc's been busy in another distant void though, as Joe Hills discovers when he returns to his house and finds Doc has hand-delivered another pet shulker.
Oh, that is brilliant. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. We have made sure that at least one shulker has a fancy home.
After taking a trip to the end himself, the better to find some chorus fruits to balance the new arrival on, so he blends with the other shulkers, Joe invites some of the other hermits over to witness what it looks like if you make a shulker invisible and are just left with the crunchy center.
And it takes their hats off temporarily, just like I removed Impulse's beard. Okay.
I probably look like a child now.
Having helped Doc in return by working to clear out obsidian from the World Eater perimeter, Joe's actually taking notes for when he wants to clear out water from his pinball machine base, which will eventually have hermits be the pinballs, because the game board will be an Elytra course. But since a scale model of the pinball is 6 blocks wide, it might be stretching the limitations of their custom hat technology. But first of all, someone will have to borrow Batman's giant penny so they have something to put in the coin slot. Maybe they could ask XBcrafted, who is not only living in the Batcave, but also has a lot of giant stuff lying around. Specifically, the enormous train car, which this week gets luggage racks and seats, designed for players the scale of those giant zombies you can spawn in using commands. XB makes do with just inviting over someone with a big personality. And it turns out he wasn't the only one who egged Keralis' house while he was away.
By the way, you've missed me, because you placed little tiny XBs all over my house.
I did. Well, you missed the Easter egg hunt, so I wanted you to, know what it was like to find eggs years later in your house.
Dude, Jevin did the same. So I found
did he?
I don't know, maybe 30 eggs today. Yeah, all over the place.
Once he's collected all the small round people in his home, Keralis actually takes XB up on his Octodrop offer as well.
Okay,
you're tied with the top.
Okay. Well, technically, I think Hypno cheated.
In his absence, the log shop miraculously made a whole bunch of money and promises to make more once Gigalogs kick into high gear. To bring that day closer, Keralis arrives at the spot Rendog picked out for their shared venture and builds an industrial sawmill labelled accordingly if on a vertical axis. Will his accomplice match the ambition? Considering the effort Ren put into just acquiring saplings, it seems likely. Out on the Mushroom Island, 15,000 blocks from spawn, Ren begins assembling a series of platform plots which will eventually either be filled with megafarms or sold to the other hermits. One of these will soon house a Hexa-Deco chopper, a machine capable of harvesting 16 clusters of trees at once. But first he has to acquire enough saplings to even plant that much product, and he does so in style.
It's just a blob of blue with some grey around it, and that's kind of depressing because actually, the structure is awesome.
In the meantime, Ren's other project is discovered. GoodTimesWith Scar swears vengeance on Gigapies with their arrow block foliage, but does admit that his tree looks nicer with leaves. Apparently not the only instance of him giving into peer pressure, since his comment section has driven the Matador mattress store joke into the ground about as much as gravity did Grian's pillar.
I said that Grian's pillar is on unstable ground, and it sunk all the way down. Well, you look at that. It just happens to be now that my pillar here is the tallest pillar.
Nevertheless, Scar boards the bandwagon and builds an actual mattress store with an honest-to-God live Ravager mascot. May it protect this tree from unwanted crowning. So if you need some bedroom lighting to go with your new mattress, look no further than ImpulseSV's new store, iLuminate. Yes, this is currently just an excuse to set up a beacon shop, but Impulse plans to eventually stock virtually every light source in the game, down to the barely glowy boys like ender chests and enchanting tables. And for once, the shop floor is actually a shop floor, since the stock is sold from barrels hidden underneath the floorboards. Impulse's attempt to sign up for Hermit Dares is a little more complex than everyone else's, on account of him having a tearaway beard, but there are other challenges to rise to when he finishes Zedaf's commissions for the best-worst equipment, and Zed suggests they test it. Luckily for them both, Impulse recently built a squared circle.
Alright Zed, welcome to my octagon! Well, I lied, it's only half an octagon.
That's a square.
Zed actually scores against the unenchanted diamond set, thanks in no small parts to fire aspect, and only goes down when the netherite is employed, which he still could have beaten if they had considered that shields are, legally speaking, part of your gear. They do have iron in them, but there's only one tier, so the worst shield is also the best shield, and they do block the full amount of damage when timed right.
No, I gotta put my beard on. I can't let you see me like this anymore.
Coincidentally, ZombieCleo ends up with a shortage of leather armor, though nowhere as advanced, of course. Instead, the rags are needed for an armor stand decorating project, when Jevin commissions her some passerby for the boardwalk he built recently, in a scathing display of peer pressure.
Jev knows I need a place for my shop, right? It's gonna be fine if I, kind of...
In turn, Cleo breaks a wall of the structure and carves a flower shop into the side of it. He is her favourite customer, after all. Of a little more help is the bartering Jevin is doing with the piglins, now with much less walking around once he breaks through much of the bedrock above the place and can access the nether roof gold farms. And more advanced trading is going to take place soon. Through intense mechanization, Jevin managed to build a stacked raid farm, which makes more items than his storage can handle in under a minute. Never before has slapping an armor stand been so lucrative.
What, okay. I'm not really sure how to take this news. That was about 4.5 seconds of AFK time. I'm kind of speechless right now, to be honest with you. All right, guys. Oh, I need to build storage ASAP. Let's do that.
Azumavoid makes sure the witches have as awful a time as the pillagers. His hut farm from last week is tweaked and works like a charm. All it took was making the flying machine sweepers sweep a block further.
And this kitty has got to be the saddest little kitty in the world, endlessly wandering down here, listening to the sounds of its witch's death.
A new issue is that his mob farm from last week now accumulates armoured zombies, but that doesn't have to be a problem. You never know when you need a personal undead army. TinFoilChef has been gone for a month, but that's long enough for the octopi and other strange creatures to have taken over spawn.
What is this, Cthulhu rising? Or just Octopod rising?
He's still chipping away at his new approach to branch mining, being someone who prefers the slow and steady approach, and while he isn't all that keen on new ore distribution, he's making do with mining for iron at Y16 and going lower once he has his eyes on diamonds. To make sure he's got wood for all the tools he's been burning through, he lays out a platform over his patch of the spawn lake and starts farming trees the old school way, all the while outwardly embracing the fact that he's going to build something with whatever materials he's got to hand. Now some materials Grian would like to put his hands on is whatever's in Mumbo Jumbo's vault. Enderpearling through the front door doesn't work even at high velocity, but luckily Scar still has some magic cookies in stock, and Grian really manages to barge in, basically using chorus fruit mechanics. Unfortunately for him, that only immediately drops him into lava before he can say hacker voice, "I'm in."
Because it doesn't look like... Can I... Is it even... Oh, it is... Oh! Oh, no.
Yeah, it was a decoy vault. It was a decoy vault designed specifically to kill you. I just knew that you couldn't help yourself.
The vault was never meant to be the vault, it's just a smaller puzzle for him to solve while Mumbo works on the actual vault, which is what the giant wall is for. And for the record, chorus fruit can't teleport you into water, so that's how Mumbo could prevent this hack in future. Mumbo's work on the actual vault might be a little delayed since the server is full of distractions he might not get to see again, like Doc M's World Eater running at full capacity.
How many hours does this need to run before you start getting into like the deep slate realm and everything like that?
Yeah, I think another 5-6 hours easy.
Really?
In total, I would assume you have to get all the way down 14 hours.
That's not even that long.
But at least now the vault wall is being built in an aesthetically pleasing place, lining up its centre with the bridge Grian built a while ago. This does mean Mumbo needs to move the side of the hill as well, but once it's snug against the perimeter, at least his vault is big enough to fit in some of these dad jokes.
This looks so cool already. Honestly, am I in China? Because this is the Great Wall.
All the while, a curious formation of rocks grows mid-air across the bridge. Good thing they quit roleplay on Hermitcraft, or Grian would smash the vault open like an otter. And finally, there's false Symmetry, up on her non-floating rock, building more of the beautiful castle until Stress Monster shows up with some Prismarine, which means False can add a splash of colour into the grand grey and white build and re-teal her roof, if you will. And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is LoyXP, and my name is PixelRiffs. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.